1990 is one of the late era years of G.I. Joe, but in this year they produced some of the most awesome vehicles of all time. I'm going to rank them here. This is every vehicle in 1990 ranked.
Yo, Joe!
Okay, I did a separate video where I ranked all the figures from 1990. You can check that one out here. But now we're going to the vehicles. There's some surprisingly awesome vehicles here because I do think, as we discussed in the video about figures, is we're going downhill now, right? We've reached our peak in 88 is where we've begun to sort of slip off and but we're still in a good era. There's still a ton of good shit. There's some really surprisingly awesome vehicles here and some all-time greats. And so we're going to get into that. The number one being one of my absolute favorite vehicles of all time. All of the images from this video were taken from 3djoes.com, which is an incredible source for anybody who's producing content about G.I. Joe, anybody interested in G.I. Joe. Check out 3djoes.com. Okay, let's get into it. At the very bottom of the list, and I would say like there's not a lot of bad here. It's just a pretty great year for vehicles, surprisingly. I think, but at the bottom of the list, I'm going to put Overlord's Dictator. This thing makes zero sense to me at all. It looks like somebody just slapped some Play-Doh together in 5 minutes and created a mold, and it's just fucking stupid. I don't get it. The idea of I like the Overlord himself as a character, as a villain. I think he's interesting, but I just don't buy this vehicle in any way. So the idea is that it would extend a bit and sort of pop up and to give you height, but for what purpose? Why? What is it? I don't get it. And then it looks like some stupid like squatting animal of some sort. And then it also, you have a lightning fast detachable jet pod, which, again, okay, but I don't know. It's not good. It's just the design does not work in here, and I put it bottom tier. Especially like every year you got the specialist. Every year, starting with Zartan, we had a new specialist from Cobra every single year, and it's so badass. Almost every one of them stands out as being an awesome and coming with a cool little vehicle. And this one is the very bottom of the list. Overlord still being pretty cool, but I still put him at the bottom because that list is so good. I'm talking about Zanzibar, Destro, Destro with the gold head. We're talking about Serpentor. We're talking about Zartan the Chameleon. All these every year. It's just this awesomeness. And then you get this thing, and it's just like, what even is that thing? Like, I don't know. Next in line, you get the Locust, and this is just a tiny little helicopter, which if you got the General, you got one with it, came with it. So this is just, you could also buy it separately. And it's just a tiny little pod of a helicopter. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Next in line, we have the Mobile Battle Bunker. And the Mobile Battle Bunker, again, we're like, at this point of G.I. Joe, they've jumped the shark a little bit, and the vehicles have gotten kind of crazy looking. Like, I think if you see, I did 1989, talked about that. The vehicles are very crazy looking, like, but still kind of awesome and cool and very weird. And this is a real weird one. I think this is a bizarro one. But I guess in concept I kind of like it because it is what it says, a mobile battle bunker. It's meant to just be like an absolutely heavily armored thing that you can put there and you can run your communications and do everything you got to do. Then it pops open and a missile launcher comes out. That makes very little sense because the whole idea is not to pop it open. It's a mobile battle bunker. It's just like people are supposed to just live in this thing, supposed to sit in it, and However, I think it works. Is it sort of dumb looking? Sure, yeah, it's sort of dumb looking, but it's kind of fun. Next line, we have the Cobra Hurricane VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing jet. This is a perfectly great jet that lines up next to your arsenal of Cobra aerial vehicles, but is definitely towards the bottom of them. I think it is not It's no Night Raven, it's no Rattler, it's no Condor. It's just not that great, but it's still a solid little vehicle. It does have a firing missile at the top. I love the pilot. The vertical takeoff and landing system is interesting, but we've been there, we've done that, and aesthetically, it just isn't that exciting. But it's still good. Like you got that. You're thrilled. You're thrilled you have it. I'm just saying, in comparison to all the incredible aerial vehicles in Cobra Air Force, it's low on that list. I would put it low. Okay, next in line we have Destro's Dominator, and I think that this is one of the lesser Iron Grenadier vehicles. This is masks to me. This is not. This isn't even GI Joe, right? It's a tank that becomes a helicopter. It just looks kind of junky the way. I think the idea is the concept's great, that you have this tank that becomes a helicopter, you fly in, and now you get a tank. But the way the tracks fold out is just not very satisfying. It doesn't look very sturdy, and so it's neither believable as a tank nor a helicopter, right? I think it's like you don't get a helicopter or a tank with it. It's fine. It's got the Iron Grenadier colors. The design is uninspired, especially for some of the Iron Grenadier shit, which I think is pretty crazy, and some of it's pretty great. The rest of this video, I think, is all kind of awesome, and this is surprising to me that a year this late would have this much awesome and not as much cheese, because I think 89 had a lot of bad vehicles. Like it was like about half of it was good, and half of it was kind of trash. And 90, they course corrected or something, and they're doing the same like crazy. It's crazy. Everything's weird looking. Everything's bizarro. But pretty much everything from here on, I'm kind of in love with. This is also a year where the Sky Patrol is introduced, and we're in repaint territory. And of course, I'm not a huge fan of repaints for figures, because sometimes I think they make just a worse version of the figure. In vehicles, though, sometimes the repaints can be an upgrade. They can be even like cooler looking than the original. And this is the case here for a lot of the Sky Patrol vehicles, because now we got some of the great G.I. Joe vehicles from the past that maybe you didn't have because they're 4 or 5 years old at this point. And then we're painting them chrome, and now they're like way more badass. And so at the bottom, and I think all of these are great. At the bottom of the list, we have the Skyhawk. This is a chrome Skyhawk, and the Skyhawk's a fantastic vehicle. Anyway, just like I think any little vehicle, just something real fun about them, because they're easily manipulative. You can manipulated. You can handle them, handle a couple of them, have a real dogfight. Whereas trying to have a dogfight with a Night Raven and Sky Striker is tough if you're a little kid, right? I can do it now, but it's tough when you're a little kid. Although now I see the same thing happening when I try to have a Dragonfly, have a fight with a Rattler, on their classified scale. It's the same problem. It's just a lot to handle. So something about the Skyhawk being just the small little maneuverable vehicle is just so much fun. Put it in chrome, and even better. This is a very cool tank with a lot of very cool features. First, it has 6 little flickable missiles that use the same sort of flickability that you had with the Cobra Wolf, and this would be a great vehicle to go against the Wolf. It also has this weird disc launcher, which ultimately, okay, there are no disc weapons that I'm aware of in the military, so I think the disc launcher might be like a giant mine launcher. And is it stupid? Sure, it's stupid fun. But the other feature that this has is it has at its center a plane that can launch off of the middle of the vehicle. So it's a little tiny plane, and so it's a little plane that just comes out of the center. It has a couple missiles in it, and so you get a lot here. There's a lot here for this weird little tank. It looks like a space age tank. Does it work as a G.I. Joe vehicle? Almost. It almost hits the balance to me where it's weird, sci-fi looking. Doesn't really look like something very military, but it looks like maybe it could be military in 2025 or something, which would have been the future back in 1990. Now, so this thing actually launches ice mines. Okay, so there's those giant ass mines that you can plunk down in the ice. There's a lot here. There's a lot going on in this vehicle. Next in line, we have the Cobra Piranha, and this is an awesome little speedboat. Cobra needs one, a neat little speedboat. Tons of missiles on it, machine guns. Also has that deep maroon color that we see a lot of the Cobra vehicles have. Fits nicely in with the aesthetic. I think it's awesome to have that kind of a speedboat for Cobra. It also has a little 2 mini depth charge launchers, which I think is pretty great. So you got a lot going on for this little tiny vehicle. Back then, you get one of these vehicles you're talking about. You spent what were they, $6-7 probably? I mean, I'm not sure what the price of this thing was, but I'm guessing it was probably less than $10. You just got a lot there. And I think the Piranha is actually a very underrated vehicle that late in the line, but would have really been awesome. Next in line, we have the Sky Shark, and again, what can I say? But it's the Shark in chrome. I mean, that's all. The Shark is one of my all-time favorites. One of the best vehicles. And you've got it, chromed out, so it's pretty badass looking. Okay, and again, keeping in line with this, we have the Sky Havoc. And here you go, the Havoc, again, one of the weirdest vehicles ever made. This is before all the vehicles started getting weird. This is like when they really launched off and made something weird. Now, I know that people G.I. Joe fans tend to be very split on the Havoc. Some of us love it, some of us think it's stupid. I'm gonna love it because to me it just says G.I. Joe. I got a lot of joy out of it as a kid, and as weird and crazy looking as it is, like one of the weirdest. And put it in chrome. Hey, all right, it's awesome. This thing looks great. Okay, next in line, I'm gonna put the General. And now the General is just a massive vehicle that I think isn't that great for what it is. I'm still putting high on this list because anytime you got something like that, you're just in love, right? And it's a massive coffee table of a vehicle with tons of guns and missiles and all kinds of shit. And you could basically, what it was a platform to launch helicopters off of. That's essentially what it was to carry helicopters. If you go to 3djoes.com, you can see the designer talking about this. And basically talking about, that's Guy Cassidy, who designed a lot of the great vehicles in G.I. Joe. And the original idea of the General was for it to be like massive. We're talking about we're not necessarily aircraft carrier size, but maybe Terrordrome size, just being a really big thing that you could fit like a whole bunch of things on it. And eventually, what we got was a sort of compromised version of this idea. It's still awesome. It's still great. It did come with a Locust. Now the center opens up and reveals a giant cannon which actually fires. You've got all kinds of platforms for G.I. Joes to be shooting, but ultimately in the realm of like the big vehicles in comparison to some of like the big ones like the Defiant or the Rolling Thunder, it's not as good as those. Still kind of awesome, but not. I feel like it misses the boat here and there. I think it did need to be a little bigger. It did need to be something where you could lay out an air force on it, and then it would have been maybe that original idea of what it was supposed to be is really what it should have been. Next in line, we have the Sky Raven, and now of course the Night Raven being one of the best things ever created in G.I. Joe, and here you have a chromed out version of this thing. It is so awesome. Also love that storyline of G.I. Joe is like taking Cobra's stuff, because Cobra has better shit. We know they do. Cobra's technology is better, and because they got unlimited funding somehow. We don't know how. Probably from crazy dictators all over the world, and they have Destro designing shit, and the Mars Industries making their shit, so their stuff is better. So G.I. Joe finds a Night Raven, takes it, chromes it out, makes it for Sky Patrol, and now it's a Sky Raven, and it's gorgeous. It is a thing of beauty. Honestly, just paint, like you can paint Night Raven anything, and I'd probably want it. It's just beautiful. Next in line, and now all of these I think are just like real wins for me. They're just like top tier vehicles, and a surprisingly great year for vehicles here. Better than the figures. I think the figures weren't as good this year, and you know, you can check out my review of them. There's some great ones, but overall, it's like a mixed bag. The vehicles, man, this year had some really good ones. The next is called a Retaliator. It's a helicopter. What I absolutely love about the Retaliator is, one, it is a good-looking, almost passes for a slightly futuristic military assault copter, and it has a cool winch feature, so you can like lower down a GI Joe. Rockets, it can drop bombs, but what its main feature was this arm on the bottom, you know, an articulating arm would come down, and there was a little clamp that you could trigger, and it had like a pincher arms. The idea is like this thing helicopters down, pinchers, whatever, picks up a vehicle or something, pulls it up, and just drop it. You know, you could just do a lot with it. Is it ridiculous? It doesn't work. What's funny is, like, yeah, that feature is ridiculous, but so fun. That feature is so fun. But then if you could ignore that feature, and you've got like yourself a really good looking vehicle, just like a really great looking helicopter that stands up as in this sort of military fantasy world as a great little assault copter. Okay, next in line. This is like at least the last three are just like best ever. Some of the best things ever made. We have the Cobra Hammerhead. This is Cobra's second submarine. You know, of course, before we had the Bug, which I do prefer to the Hammerhead, but the Hammerhead is a similar style vehicle. It's a massive tank that can go on the ground and underwater. It's got wheels, but it's a submarine. And what was also really amazing about this vehicle is 6 vehicles in one. It's absolutely 6 vehicles in one. It's got a middle section that has a decompression tank for divers to pop out of. It has this, the center could pull out, and you have rockets could shoot out. So you imagine it's emerging from underwater and launching its rockets. And then it has this pilotable little pod on the top that sits on the top. It's pretty cool looking. And these two like torpedo-like fast-moving vehicles strapped to the sides. But my absolute favorite thing here of this is that it had 2 little one-man sea sleds right on the side, because those little tiny vehicles are just so fun. They're fun to have. You know, you can imagine them jumping over things, shooting things down, or just blowing up. It was sort of like the speeder bike race in Return of the Jedi. What's so fun about that is with little tiny vehicles just smashing against something. It's very easy to imagine them blowing up, smashing against things. So just crazy that you got 6 vehicles in one with this thing. It's massive, and it's a whole arsenal in one. Awesome. The number 2 vehicle here of this year has to be the Hammer, and this is based on a Humvee. This is just a real sturdy looking fast attack vehicle. It's got some very crazy ass cannons on it. It has, on the back, it has 6 rockets that you can flick out, and we've got 2 weirdly rotating cannons on the side and 1 gun turret on the top. And this thing, oddly enough, for a G.I. Joe vehicle, it is very heavily armored, as almost every G.I. Joe vehicle. You know, we're exposing the driver to probably be shot very easily. Well, this does this to the 2 gunners on the side, admittedly. Like, those guys they're not making it, but the rest of it, it's pretty armored. This is a great thing to just have smashing through Cobra lines. Really one of the most fun vehicles. But my number 1 vehicle of the year, absolutely, and this is an all-time great for me. I think one of the greatest vehicles of all time is the Cobra Rage. And this is a fast assault tank, for me, paired really well with Alley Vipers, as this was like a city assault tank, right? But this thing is loaded out with more weapons than almost any. It's like crazy. This is up there with a hydrofoil with how much it just is packed into this vehicle. And hopefully they can make this vehicle not make it a HasLab, because I think it's not huge. It's only slightly larger than something like that. I think they could probably produce this thing as classified for like maybe $150, right? And it is just packed with shit. First of all, it has a turret at the top. When that turret comes up, it rises up, and a Gatling gun pops out the back. It could be, so it could be a rear weapon, or it could, be used to rotate and mow down anybody facing you as well. It's got a battering ram and a Gatling gun in the front. It also has a mine launcher on the back, so as it's going through the city, it's just laying out mines. So you imagine they're pursuing, and then, the hammer just coming in the back and just hitting a mine and blowing up. It's got just an absolutely insane amount of fun packed into this little tiny, very fast, very sleek looking vehicle that still works within the realm of what G.I. Joe and Cobra is. It's somewhat believable. It's one of those things where it still fits within the realm. It almost feels like an earlier vehicle that you can get, yet it's more loaded out with weapons than just about anything other than the hydrofoil, which is like packed to the brim with absolute great features. So that's my thoughts. That's my favorite vehicle of the year. What's your favorite vehicle of the year? Let me know in the comments below. And absolutely, and if you want to relive some memories of older vehicles from the G.I. Joe line, check out this video where I talk about the incredibly iconic vehicles of 1983.